We are tracking a foggy and wet day across central Texas right now. You're taking a live look from our Kalahari Resorts Conventions camera and also our Zach Theater camera pointed toward downtown Austin. That would be if, of course, you could see downtown Austin. It is a very foggy start for us as a dense fog advisory is in effect until 10 o'clock this morning. Now, I want to talk about not only the advisory, but also the flood threat that we're going to have on tap for today as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the visibility numbers across the region. Right now, our lowest visibility is along and west of I-35 with under a half a mile of visibility in Austin and out there in Gillespie County in Fredericksburg. Now, we're still under a mile in areas such as Georgetown and San Marcos and also out in Horseshoe Bay. Horseshoe Bay as well dealt with an isolated severe storm earlier this morning that we can talk about in just a bit. But here are the details on that dense fog advisory. It is in effect for all of our KVUE counties until 10 o'clock this morning. Visibility could drop down to a quarter of a mile or less for some areas, so just make sure you take it easy on the roadways. Leave some space between yourself and other drivers and utilize those low beam headlights. Here's a look at the current satellite radar. You can still see some scattered activity, mostly along and east of I-35, although I am seeing some isolated heavier showers out there just north of Burnett County. As I mentioned, we did have an isolated storm slide through some portions of Blanco, Llano, and Burnett County earlier this morning. There were reports of hail up to 1.5 inches in diameter. It was a very isolated strong storm, the only one that was warned for today. But that was about 4 hours ago, I believe, is when that was moving through the area. Right now, we are tracking that very light activity. No warnings in effect, nor are we really expecting that much of a warning for today. There is an isolated strong storm threat along and east of I-35 for the afternoon. But let's kind of walk you through what you can expect today, starting with the risks. We have a flood outlook, including a majority of central Texas and that level 2 slight risk. That's the areas you see shaded in yellow. Let me pull that up full for you. You'll notice that area in red out near College Station. That's just outside of our viewing area, but we'll keep an eye on that in case that area of moderate risk shifts a little bit further to the west. Right now, the forecast models have not hinted at that happening, but we'll keep an eye on that for you here. Let's walk you through the futurecast. We'll start with today. This is by noon. You can see scattered light activity. Then as we make our way into the late afternoon, early evening, you see our heaviest showers and storms kind of localizing over the coastal plains out there in Bastrop, Fayette, and Lee counties. They will kind of hold on to that kind of trajectory in that area throughout the early evening and maybe even into Wednesday, where we'll track our third and final round of potentially flooding rain for central Texas. You can see by around 12:30 tonight, it'll be fairly dry across most of central Texas. As we take a look at the futurecast in regard to our rainfall totals through 5:30 this evening, as expected, the highest rainfall totals are east of I-35. Throughout the morning, I have noticed a slight lowering trend for areas that are along and west of the I-35 corridor. In fact, this morning we were seeing some projections closer to Austin that were getting an additional inch, anywhere from an additional inch to 3 inches. These have since started to wind down a bit, and now I'm seeing just those isolated higher totals out there closer to Fayette County. So like I said, we'll keep our eyes on that to see whether or not that trend changes, but the latest this morning has been showing that trend overall. Your hourly forecast shows that it's going to be a warmer day for us despite being on the cloudier side. Now, I do think where those showers end up placing and at what time of the day will heavily dictate how warm we get. I think we'll be able to make it into the 60s. At least I'm hoping so. I know we kind of are tired of this colder weather, or at least I personally would like some milder and more seasonable conditions. 65 is the forecast I have for Austin. Now, that patchy fog, even though the dense advisory expires at 10 a.m., I still think we'll be left with some patchy fog at least through the midday and early afternoon hours, kind of similar to yesterday. It was a bit stubborn because we are having fairly calm winds overall. In regard to your allergy count, let me break this down for you a little bit. We did see levels of cedar drop yesterday as the rain was moving through, but then we had a fairly quiet back half of the afternoon and into the evening, which is why our cedar levels were able to elevate. This was the allergy count done this morning. We'll most likely have a new allergy count for our midday show that starts at 11 o'clock on KVUE. I would not be surprised if our cedar levels start to lower once the rain arrives. It just depends on whether or not that rain gets here in time for midday. Mold levels, at least on the bright side, are on the low end. Overnight lows tonight, let's talk about those real quickly. You can see that it will be fairly mild for us in the lower to mid 50s for a majority of central Texas. And yes, yet again, another round of patchy fog. There has not yet been a dense fog advisory issued for tomorrow, but if it's similar to today, which right now the models are trending toward that, I would not be surprised if we do have a dense fog advisory for your morning commute tomorrow. Also, looking at tomorrow, we will have another flood threat. This one is going to be lower for us. It's going to be along and east of I-35, with a majority of those locations being under a level 1 out of 4 or marginal risk for flooding. There are portions of eastern Fayette County that are in the level 2 slight risk. Let's walk you through tomorrow so you can see what to expect. By midnight, it's fairly isolated in nature, but by 5 a.m. we could still see some of those heavier bands of rain moving across the coastal plains. They'll continue to push out to the northeast and maybe even grow a little bit more scattered as we make our way into the late morning and early afternoon. Right now, I do have about 60% coverage for our showers and storms tomorrow. Unfortunately, for those of you out in the hill country, the rain is looking like it is going to favor areas along and east of I-35, kind of carrying on with that trend that we've seen both yesterday and with today's forecast. Now, as we compare the European and GFS models, you'll see maybe a few tenths of an inch of rain out in the hill country, higher totals along the I-35 corridor, and our highest totals out there in the coastal plains. Could we pick up an isolated 3 inches or more out in the coastal plains? Sure. It's definitely possible, but I think the averages right now are between 1 to 3 inches overall. Let's break down that 7-day forecast for you. You'll notice that we'll be trending fairly seasonable with our temperatures today and tomorrow, but then we get a brief warm up as conditions dry out. I see us around 70 degrees on Thursday, upper 60s to near 70s on Friday, and then you see another 20% chance for some PM showers. That's going to be late afternoon, probably closer to the evening hours, honestly, ahead of a cold front that's going to be sliding through. This is not a strong cold front. It knocks us back down into the lower 60s for Saturday and Sunday. And the good news is, at least for now, the weekend forecast is looking fairly pleasant, gorgeous if you have any outdoor plans. But we'll continue to monitor that to see if we have any changes in the forecast regarding your rain chances for the weekend. So once again, kind of to summarize things, we are going to be keeping our eyes on that possibility for some flooding, mostly along and east of I-35 for today. Make sure that you check in with the forecast regularly. You can do so on our on-air broadcast. You can also check out KVUE.com, and you can also download the KVUE News app, which is free to download in the App Store. You'll be notified if you have any warnings or watches issued for your area. Right now, there are no warnings. The only watches that are in effect are in Milam County. It's a flood watch until 6 o'clock this evening, but if that does changes, we can message you directly or kind of send you a notification directly on your phone through the KVUE News app.